Hello, everybody. Coming to you live from Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's Jason White, episode number 60. Supposed to be with Rick Duggan, and he's got technical difficulties that is beyond our control, and I don't know what the deal is. How you doing, Kathleen? Danny? Matter of fact, Danny, we're gonna send you the link, and you can come and join me, and we'll talk about something. And I'll have Danny come on the show. And let me see, Amanda, if you can find Danny's email in a previous email, I think we'll just have him join us. Anyway, give me a quick second. I think we might be able to do that. And if that's the case, then we'll make that happen. But in the meantime, I will tell you, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? Here's what I do. I basically come on this show. Oh, good. She sent him a link on Facebook. So we'll have Danny come on. But anyway, so in the meantime, while we're getting to that point, at least I'll have somebody to talk to, and we can talk about a couple of issues. And you talk about, if he's available, if you talk about somebody stepping in when we need him in a real hurry, this is the second time he's been able to step up and do this. I don't know what happened to Rick. I'm gonna blame part of it on the fact that Rick and I are really good at working murders, but we're not very good when it comes to technical issues. But I can promise you, this one wasn't, this isn't mine. And sometimes I don't know what the deal is, but there's some issues that sometimes happen from time to time. I wanted to let everybody know that next week, August the 8th, we're going to have a really cool guest on, and it's going to be Doug Satchery with Satchery Spice. He's going to be coming on, and he's going to be a ton of fun. And I know he knows how to get around StreamYard, so we're going to be fine with him. And then the other thing that's going to happen is that next week, if everybody hasn't left this show because of all these technical difficulties, there's going to be merch that's going to be coming available that's going to be on this show. We're the second show from KGRA that's actually going to introduce merchandise. And I told him, I said, hopefully make it inexpensive and good quality, and that's what we want to do. And so, man, I don't know. It just so happens that hopefully Danny's going to be able to come on here in a brief minute. If he wasn't doing anything, I don't know. I didn't message him. So there he is. There's Danny. We'll bring him on here in a quick. Yeah, there he is. Danny, welcome. No, it's okay. Bring him on. Danny, way to step in. And hopefully he's okay. He doesn't need an ambulance from that. Yeah. But anyways.
Hold on just a second. I lost you again on my end.
Hey, while he's dealing with that, hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, feel free to I'm really sick to my stomach about something, and I'm sick to my stomach about that double murder that happened in Devil's Den, Arkansas. And I'm trying to wrap my head around what's wrong with humanity and what would lead this guy that happened to be a school teacher in Broken Arrow, which is right next to Tulsa. And then he gets fired from here, from what I understand. And I may be wrong on some of these details. He ends up leaving from Broken Arrow, from what I understand, as a teacher. And then he gets a job in Arkansas. Did you hear about this, Danny?
I did.
And essentially there's a couple that, I know he did save the day. You get an award. I'll tell you what, you're going to get a cup. You're going to get a patch. You'll get a cup and you'll get a patch. Thank you. I hope you didn't have anything going on. And then the other thing that was happening is that apparently these people were hiking, and while they were hiking, this guy just jumps out and starts attacking the husband, and the wife manages to get her kids from there. And they I don't know how the kids were. I honestly don't know that, but they get the kids off. The wife gets the kids off and hides them nearby, and then turns around, runs back to go help her husband. And in doing so, the guy kills the wife too. And so those poor kids lost both parents because somebody is a wacko, and he's got serious freaking problems, and I don't get it. But I don't know.
We have one not far from there, actually, on that kind of side of Tennessee. A guy killed, I think, I could get it wrong because I don't know the details, but I know he killed 4 and actually had dropped a baby off.
I think he dropped his phone. And so anyway, he'll be back. The other thing I want to mention too, while he's coming back, and it's something that I do kind of want to mention, is Yeah, if you got any questions, feel free to send them to us. I'll tell you, we do have
I'm back.
we do. All right, thanks, Danny. Are you okay? I know the nerves are probably running strong. Believe me.
I dropped the phone. And no, it's a guy can't. It's on the news now. It's actually they found his vehicle, but he killed 3 or 4, and then dropped a baby off somewhere in the field, and they're actively looking for him now over in West Tennessee. They found his vehicle today, but still haven't found him.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's a crazy world out there, man.
Yeah. I got to tell you, man, I think I'm almost to the point where I'm just going to carry my gun when I'm mowing my lawn. It's absolutely crazy what's going on out here in the world, and I just don't get it. So I just don't. It's crazy. I'll tell you what, I caught a murder last Sunday, and on my homicide, it's one 15-year-old killing another 15-year-old, and you're like, what in the world is? And this isn't the first time for me. I've had a lot of kids that have done bad things, but
Wow.
man, I just don't understand it. I mean, that's literally ruining your life in an absolute split second for no reason. And there usually is no good reason for it. So I just don't get it.
Do you guys have like interstate shootings out there, like road rage type stuff?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I caught one of those in October. So
Seems like every
yeah.
other day we're having one.
Yeah. I've had those, ladies and gentlemen, if somebody cuts you off, this is going to be a little public service announcement. If somebody cuts you off in traffic, let it go. Okay. Let it go. You do not know who you are dealing with. I've had to tell Mrs. White more than once to don't even look. Although one day not long ago, I was driving down the interstate and somebody started screaming and yelling at me. And anyway, it turned out they were super fans, but I was like, don't look. And I'm like, Tina's like about ready to go off on these people. Northside Tina is about to come out. And I was like, no. And it turned out they were just trying to get my attention, which was fun. But I was like,
it wasn't Angela, super fan from England, was it?
No. But so what Rick's telling me is that every time he was clicking on the thing, that a certain page was popping up. So I'm going to see what he's talking about. But Rick's disappointed because he was super excited to be here. And I'll tell you something kind of funny. This is kind of funny. I'll send that to Amanda and let her know what that's all about. So I'll tell you what happened. I spent some time with Rick, and actually, you know what you ought to think about, Danny, is maybe one of these days you need to come to the Homicide Investigators of Texas conference, since you're actually involved in the cold case stuff with Tennessee. But nevertheless, I spent some time with Rick Duggan and Scott Sayers, both former Dallas homicide guys, both legends. Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't realize this, Dallas has actually been on the third most episodes of the show. 82 to be exact. And I was like, man, I just don't know if I have the courage to ask either him or Scott if they'd be willing to come on the show. That's the truth. I was just like, I didn't want to feel weird, going, hey man, you want to be on my podcast? Because actually almost everybody's got one now. But I was like, I don't know. And I like these guys. They're people that I look up to. They're kind of like, I told them this. I told them that they're both like my big homies, and I really look up to them. But I didn't ask him. However, a couple of weeks ago, literally, I am in Irving, Texas. We're there working. Okay, we were following up on something, and while we were there, of course, after we were done doing what we were doing, we're like, "Hey, man, let's go do something." And so we ended up going to downtown Dallas, thinking that would be a great place to go. Which, let me tell you the truth, I didn't realize it at the time, but they have a lot of murders down there where we were actually at. So I guess we just gravitated to it like a magnet. And we went to, and it's an entertainment district. Don't get me wrong. It's a nice part of there's a lot of clubs. Okay. Lots of clubs. And so while I'm sitting in one of them, that was a real dive, let me tell you, and as the liquid courage was getting a little bit stronger, of course I texted them both and I'm like, listen, man, you guys here, I'm in Dallas right now. I'm right here in downtown Dallas, just a couple of minutes away from where Dealey Plaza is, where the grassy knoll is and all that stuff. And while we were walking around, I was there with a camera guy and another homicide detective. And while we're there, of course, we're not armed. I mean, we're going to bars and stuff. You know what I mean? We're having a good time. And while we're walking around, I was like, yeah, this is pretty shady. this is like how robberies happen down here. You know what I mean? And so anyway, it was funny. I messaged him and both of them said absolutely. And so Rick, even though he's not here tonight, he's here in spirit. And Rick will be back. If he's got to go buy a laptop to be on this show, he's going to do it. We'll make sure that he does. But nevertheless, from there, me and the camera guy, we ended up losing the other homicide detective because she couldn't keep up. So she went ahead and went back to the hotel. But me and one of the camera people, we kind of hung out down there, and we found ourselves in another club later that night that after we left from there, we were like, what were we thinking, man? it was listen, it was a great place. Let me tell you, I had a freaking time of my life. The singing in there was like, it's like you're listening to a record, but we were in a place that it was pretty scary.
You never know. It's kind of like staying in.
It was scary, but it was fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If we hadn't have been drinking, we would have moved on. But we were, hey, we're having a good time. So what's going on with you, Danny? I wanted to kind of briefly, hopefully you've talked to Mike Elam a little bit. He's been kind of on fire over the Pauline Pusser case.
He is on fire, and I think he's got some points. Nobody really knows why they're not releasing the information from the DA's office. There's a lot of speculations if it's political or what, but nobody really knows. But there's word that it may even be a lot longer. Mike's done a lot of work on that case for 20 years as a former police officer. He has dug into that case more than anybody I know.
Yeah.
Dug into anything. I mean, he's got in there and actually interviewed witnesses and eyewitnesses, and even got still. He's actually my cousin Dennis Hathcock was one that was on the ambush site actually there that morning when the ambush happened when Buford Pusser's wife was killed. But anyway, he's got a lot of time and energy and invested in that case, and them not to release it. And they TBI was done with it back in January.
Yeah. And they'd also, they advertised that they were going to tell what's up, and they didn't. And I have a theory. My theory is that, and what we're talking about is we're talking about the Sheriff Buford Pusser saga, Walking Tall movies from the early 70s that Pauline Pusser ended up getting killed, and Buford got shot multiple times on that situation as well. But there's been speculation that there's more to the story, really. Not necessarily that he did it, but I mean, that's certainly been talked about. But it's probably somebody else that did it, but he might have had some involvement in that. Who knows? But that's kind of it in a nutshell. And Mike Elam has wrote that book. What's the name of that book again?
It's Buford Pusser, The Other Story.
That's right. Yeah, we've talked about it. We've had Mike on the show, and Mike reached out to me. I hadn't talked to him in a long time, and I was glad to talk to him. I was kind of almost afraid to call him because I hadn't talked to him in so long. I thought, oh man, he's probably mad at me. But he reached out. We talked for a long time, and he wanted to know what I thought about basically writing a letter to the editor about kind of what he thinks is going on. And to tell you the truth, after listening to what he had to say, I was like, yeah, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't. I mean, that the DA's office said that they would talk about it publicly. And I mean, I think that we need to hold people accountable. And what I was going to say is that honestly, one of the things that came to mind was that I think that there's probably got to be something there, or the TBI would have came out a long time ago and said there's nothing there. I mean, they would have been very quick to the point on that. And it probably has a little bit to do with the fact that he's a legacy in that state, and there's no doubt about it. And if you're going to bring out stuff that could potentially tarnish his reputation, then they might be a little slow to do that, because you're going to have a lot of very angry constituents in certain parts of the state. That's my guess.
And all over too, because that movie, it changed a lot for law enforcement officers. He was a hero. And I'm sure brought a lot of people into law enforcement because of it. And that little town, has been looked at as, a legacy of where the hero came from. But that may be too. I don't know.
Yeah.
you remember Cheryl McMccullum?
Yeah.
She had him. She actually had me on her podcast, Zone 7, talking about the things that you and I talked about, the bloodstain on the hood of the car, and she actually found something that none of us saw, and that's a bullet hole in the hood of the car. And I've looked over it the whole time. I've been looking at that picture, and when I went back after she saw it, it sure is. It's there, and and it lines up kind of what we are thinking, that someone, by the bloodstain pattern analysis on the hood of the car,
Right.
the way the trajectory is, and the bullet hole is almost like somebody was standing out in front of the car about where that bullet hole hit. I never saw it before. I don't know if you got to
Yeah.
see that one or not. But
Yeah, I think it's something. I think there's more news that's going to be coming out on that. We may have to have Mike on in the near future to talk a little bit more about it if he's willing to, and along with you, Danny, because you know a lot about that case as well. And let's talk about another case real quick that's recent in the news, and that's the Idaho killer. And I know that a lot of people have probably comments out there, and I actually wanted to mention. I think it was Kathleen that asked if Scott's going to be on. Yeah, he's going to be on a future episode. Once somebody has agreed, then I make it happen. It's not, we're not going to, they'll be here. So will Rick Duggan. As long as, he's old, Rick's old. He's, he's doing beekeeping and he's selling, actually he's working on selling this stuff and I know it's going to be great. Isn't it, Kathleen? I'm excited about it. And then the other thing that he does, and this is coming straight from Scott Sayers, and Scott Sayers says, oh, Rick is involved in beekeeping and he makes honey, and it's gourmet honey, which means it's really, really expensive honey. So I think Rick is, and there he is. Rick makes this honey, and he said, and I guess he's taking it to Scott, and he wants premium prices for this stuff, but it's supposed to be epic. I don't know. I'm going to get some and we'll see. But how's Ronnie Leatherman doing before we get to the Idaho killer? Ronnie's good. I just got a message from him just recently. And when you came on, was Ronnie here? Did Ronnie talk to you?
Yeah, when we came on with Cater, he was on there with you as a host.
Yeah. Ronnie's good. He's still working for the enemy. I mean, he works for the defense team for the public defenders of the Fed. So, but I still love him, and Ronnie's my little buddy, and he's doing good. I talked to Frazier just a couple of days ago. Frazier's doing really good. I think, as a matter of fact, I don't think it's a secret. I think he was getting a tattoo by Steve-O. I think he met with Steve-O from Jackass to go have a tattoo done on him, and that's got Frazier written all over that. I'm not surprised. And I'm excited for him. I haven't seen it. He wanted me to send him a picture that he wanted to have tattooed on there. And I'm reading something here that Stephanie put up there. So anyway, I'm sure that I don't know how good of a tattoo artist that Steve-O is, but yay, dude. I don't know how good of a tattooed artist he is, but it's still got a cool factor that Steve-O did it. I don't know that he actually went through it or not, but he was supposed to. So we'll see.
Because of where it come from, that means everything.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Let's see. Somebody had asked, Stephanie asked, do you think that Travis Decker that killed his 3 daughters in Washington State is dead, alive, or deep in Mexico? I camped at that campground where it happened. I'm not sure if you've heard about it, and I have not heard about this. I don't know if this is new. I don't know if I know much about this, if anything. I don't know. Before we get to that, I don't want to lose my train of thought because I'm old too. The Idaho killings. I let me give you my take on this. I think a lot of people, I think that the family was upset with the plea agreement. Okay. And I will just say this, that when somebody takes a deal like that and he's taking life without parole, it's forever and he can never appeal it. That's it. The appeals are done. He is stuck with that. And that's the way it's going to be. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what your thoughts are. I'm curious, but I don't think the death penalty is going to be around much longer. I could see it going away in 10 or 15 years. I just don't see it hanging around. The way our world is going, you have pharmaceutical companies that refuse to provide medicine, or the the stuff to give them what is that anyway? Is it sodium pentothal or what? Huh?
Yeah, lethal injection. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. And so they're not supplying it anymore, and because of that, that's kind of where we're at. So I don't know. And if you're just joining us, Rick Duggan he couldn't get on here. We're going to figure it out the next time. We'll get on here 45 minutes before or an hour before, or we might even do it during the week just to find out what in the heck the issue is, but we will get him on here because Rick is an entertaining guy. So what are your thoughts? I want to see some comments as to what your thoughts are in reference to the Idaho killer. Are you good with that sentence, or would you have preferred him to get the death penalty? I'll tell you, if that death penalty goes away, he'll get life with the possibility of parole. So, that's kind of a gamble that you take. And I don't think he's going to have just a really fun time where he's going. So I don't know. They're going to have to keep a real eye on him.
What the family's going through. If it was my family and, they were brutally murdered, regardless how they were murdered. And the guy's sitting right there, and he's going to be able to live for the rest of his life. I mean, fed and have a room and board and fed the rest of his life. I can see their frustrations.
Yeah, I do too. But, and sometimes I think one of the issues is that he could be sitting on death row for 25, 30 years. I mean, Idaho has executed a couple. I looked it up because I was curious as to how long it's been. They've executed a couple of people over the last 5-10 years, something like that. So it's not like it's completely impossible, but it's just becoming more and more infrequent out there. And the other thing, and this coming up, I'm just curious. The other thing that kind of irritates me too with Kohlberger is I know the judge can't make him do this, but I think that they really should consider. I really wish that he would have had to tell the story before he was given that deal. I think that you should be compelled to tell the story, and the story needs to stand the test of the evidence. I really do think that it needs, because that family for the remainder of their lives are going to be asking why, and that's almost even more torture. And that really bothers me as well.
Right. The only closure they had really was to have him executed. I think without that, they'll always be in their minds from now on. Why?
Yeah, that's true. And I know that I think that right now with him still being, to tell you the truth, in part, I will never be able to relate, God forbid, if I ever had to in any way, shape, or form. I don't want any part of that. But just being around murder victim families and stuff, I think that they have a real opportunity to where they could actually have a voice, and that could be helpful to where they could talk at, events and things like that to just really increase the public awareness of whatever, voting for the right people that aren't going to give people slaps on the wrist and things along that nature. We really need to do something different here. People need to wake up. I know that people want to, rehabilitate, and I'm sure that, and there is room for that. Don't get me wrong, but we really need to, this bond thing where they're letting people out for robberies and they're going right back out on the streets is something that is not right. And it needs to be really looked at seriously. What else? Let's see. And thank you all for being here, and thank you for listening to us, and thank you for hanging in there with us for a little bit. And I didn't want to just cancel the show, man. I want to be here. I want to talk to you. I want to have fun. And this is fun for me every Friday. So, and thanks again, Danny. You really freaking stepped in. You got a steak dinner coming your way, at least at a minimum.
I logged in at first, and I couldn't get it to come on. And I think you're a couple of minutes late getting started, but I thought maybe I just couldn't make it. And then there it was. I said, all right.
Well, I think Rumble crashed too. So we've got a lot of things up against us. At least I've heard that. I don't know. I saw Amanda put it somewhere. Oh, good. Thanks for being here, Carrie. We love the fact that you're here live. And guess what? Our guest, this has happened once before. The guest didn't make it. So it's okay. It's okay. We'll make it happen. Let's see. What else? This is the time you can ask a homicide detective or an ambulance paramedic to the next level. What's your title again? You've got like above a paramedic. What is it?
I'm a critical care paramedic, former death investigator, cold case. I've got a lot of hats. I can just keep turning them around, you know.
Yeah.
But I've been doing it for almost 40 years.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you're somebody, if I, God forbid, I ever needed somebody, you'd be the guy. I just recently had a chest scan, one of those chest and lung scans, heart and lung scans that cost $79 at the state fair of the Tulsa State Fair. They were selling those for the couples. You got it for $79. I will forewarn everybody that's listening here tonight that when you do sign up for that, which is an incredible deal. I mean, you cannot beat the price of that to get a heart and lung scan, but just be prepared because you're going to get a timeshare spiel that is going to last about an hour and 45 minutes. Okay. And I sat there through it because I'm a really nice person, but this scan took 3 minutes. Okay. And I sat there for an hour and 45 minutes listening to about how much I needed to buy a car, because that's about what it cost for the Cadillac version of this. And I'm not downing on them because they did the scan, and everybody should be glad to know that I had 0 plaque. It says 0 plaque in my coronary arteries. And based on my lifestyle, Danny, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one, buddy, because I don't know that that's even possible.
Yeah.
Okay?
Did you smoke in your early years?
Yeah, like a professional. Okay. Back when it was cool. All right.
Yeah, I think we all did back in the day.
Yeah.
We actually had a cigarette machine. I mean, you remember, the cigarette machines that you pull the lever and then the pack of cigarettes at our ambulance service.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm glad.
Well, yeah. Hey, listen, I'll tell you a quick story. So, since we've got a little bit of time here, and listen, if you've got any cases that you really want to talk about, if I or Danny know anything about it, I'd love to talk about it. But yeah, the cigarette machines were great, because then you didn't have to have an ID to get in them, and
yeah,
that was the point. And so one of those nights I had when I was a teenager, I came home, and I hope you guys don't mind us sharing a few stories because we're trying to figure out what to talk about. But I came home really. I stayed out all night. Like I told you, I was working at McDonald's. I closed at McDonald's. And it was one of those nights where, I'm partying after work is what was up. And when I knew I needed to get home before my mom got home, because my mom worked for the Oklahoma City Fire Department and she worked 24-hour shifts. So I happened to leave. And when I got home, it was dusk out. So when I pulled up to my house, I forgot to turn the lights off of the car. So I pulled up there and I got out of my car and I rushed into my room. See, of me and my brother, I was kind of the one that was always I was pushing the envelope, believe me. So my brother was the kid that never did anything wrong. And I was always pushing that envelope. Trust me. So I ran into the house. I'm acting like I'm asleep. And then what happened is my mother came home. She sees my headlights on. So she goes over there to turn them off. And she's like, well, that's weird. So she puts her hand on the hood of my car and it's hot. So my door about got knocked off of the hinges in my bedroom, and she jumped and she's yelling and screaming, going, where have you been? And on and on and on. And the other thing that was the problem is that when she got into my car to turn my lights off, she found a bunch of cigarette packets that I would put under my seat. And then, so she goes, are you smoking? And I know I was busted, believe me. And she goes, are you smoking? And I'm like, no, I'm not smoking. And she goes, just tell me the truth. Just tell me the truth and I won't be mad, but don't lie to me. And I said, okay, I'm smoking. And she went, what?
What? Get me a switch.
And it was off the hook, man. But anyway, the cat was out of the bag and that was that. So anyway. All right. So let's see. Shoot us out a question if you got one. I think it's going to be, we'll try to hang in here as long as we can to try to entertain you, I guess. We're going to get some merchandise. It's going to be cool. We got mouse pads coming. I've got coffee cups coming, hats.
Woo-hoo.
I know, but they're not the one you want. They're
okay.
But really, what, I ought to think about doing that and throwing some of the other ones up there. And then there's some shirts, sweatshirts, stuff like that. I mean, I think that the designs look really cool. And I think they look cool. So anyway, that's what we're going to do.
I've got a cold case that I'd like. I don't know how much time we got, but
No, let's hear it.
I'm going to be on another podcast talking about it, so I can tell the kind of the quickness if you want.
Yes, please bring it.
When I began my death investigator, I guess, career, maybe back in around 2009 area, as a death investigator, you've worked with them too. You work with a lot of death investigators. The police do, the law enforcement work hand in hand with death investigators because of the death laws. You have to do that. You're just right there together. During a death scene, a detective and I were talking, and he was telling me about a case that the state of Tennessee asked their sheriff's department here in Murray County in Tennessee to take it back on. It went cold. It was a case that happened in 1975, February the 14th of 1975. Some bird hunters were out hunting underneath some power lines, and they stumbled upon some skeletal remains. And of course, they called 911. The police, or I don't even know if they had 911. I know they did back then, but they called the police out there, and they found some remains that had some clothing on it. It was skeletal remains. You know how it takes quite a while for a body to become skeletonized. It's a little bit quicker out in the direct sunlight, but it takes a while. So they tried. They didn't have anybody report anyone missing back then, and from their studies, they could tell it was a female. It was a black female in her age between 15 and 21 years old. That's as far as they could get for several years. They worked really hard, and they actually did a really good job of investigating that scene. Well, the detective, fast forward, the detective took it on. The Murray County Sheriff's Department did, and that detective, that was his case. And he said one thing that he had to do was take the skull and get a CT scan of the skull, because back then they could use that CT scan, send it off, and get a facial reconstruction from the CT scan of that skull. So that was kind of my segue, or my way into the case. And I said, yeah, let me help you. I'd love to be able to help you if you'll let me kind of help follow you through this case. And he said, yeah. So we went up to Knoxville, and you ever heard of the Body Farm?
Oh yeah, for sure. There isn't that underneath the University of Tennessee?
The actual Body Farm is the pathology lab is underneath the football field.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So there's like a lot of, these are people that are in like pools of formaldehyde. Am I right?
Right. They actually, what they do, Dr. Bass, it was headed that up, and another doctor that I'm going to get on this show one day, forensic anthropologist. Dr. Bass created it's about 3 acres, and it's downtown Knoxville, just right off the campus. I'm trying not to get too far off my story, but what they do is they take bodies that are donated or unclaimed, and they've sent there to study. Then Dr. Bass would put them in trunks of cars, put them out in the open, bury them, put them in different environments where they can study the timeline of death. As far as insects, they would study the insects, and that has become globally known in those studies, and they've been doing it all over. But the pathology lab is underneath the football field, and that's where our girl was. So we actually went up there, drove up there, and got her skull, brought it back, and on the way back, Jerry Williams is the detective's name. I'm gonna give him a shout out. I asked him. I said, Jerry, do you mind stopping at the crime scene? I would love to get just a feel of that crime scene where it was, and we did. We stopped by there, and we had her skull, and we looked around, and it was literally unchanged because it was under the Tennessee Valley Authority's power lines, so nothing was built. It was still exactly the same from 1975. 40 years ago. And I just got chills. I told Jerry, I said, do you believe we're bringing her back to the scene? 30, I think it was 30 something years then, all these years later. And he and I just stood there for a second, and the hair just kind of stood up on the back of my neck. And so we did. Well, I took a lot of photographs. I've got a lot of photographs of this case. So we went in and I contacted back then it was the hospital that I worked for, and asked them if they would do this, if they could allow us in to get a CT scan of a human skull. And they were a little bit hesitant. You know, the first one I called said, well, I'll have to call somebody else on that one. And it went up the chain. And finally they come back and said, sure, let's do it. And we went in, and I've got some great photographs of that I'll send to you, Jason, but of the actual red line going across her skull. And and they did. We brought her skull back up the following Monday. This is like on a Friday. The following Monday, we brought her skull back up there, and the medical examiner that took over, Dr. Bass, was there, and she had laid out all the bones that were found during that, the ones that they brought up that they had. They even had some clothing still, but she laid them out on the table. And you wouldn't believe how much bones were still. I mean, they gathered. It's incredible, the investigation that they did even way back then. But you could tell how she died by looking at their bones, starting with the ribs. You know, ribs, when they're broken, I don't know, Jason, if you ever had a rib broke, but I have. It'll grow back actually, but it'll also show a calcification area of where, once it heals good, it'll show a calcification area. Well, she had a lot of those, and they would break in the same area again. So that would kind of tell us that she was beaten over time, back, just multiple times. And one particular injury that I noticed was her pelvis. Her pelvic girdle was cracked on both sides, almost like someone stomped her pelvis.
Jeez.
And so, but here's a kicker, is that she had hardly any injuries that we could find at all on her skull. Her long bones were unharmed. Her legs, I'm talking from her hips down, we couldn't find any injuries at all. So to me, what we talked about was this had to be someone who was kept either in captivity or kept her injuries hidden from the outside world. In other words, they would put clothes on, then nobody else could notice her injuries. So we documented all that and came in and actually ran it through the news media once we got her facial reconstruction back, and they done a phenomenal job of that, by the way. But nobody claimed her missing. We had talked to some, and you may have heard this story as well, especially back in the day when someone would come missing. No one would claim them missing because the families would hope that one day they would come back, especially a teenager back in that time. And I can concur with that because I was one of them. I was missing, and I can go through that story another day, but at 15 years old, I was that way for 2 years. But anyway, that's on that. I can tell that story another show, but that's why we thought maybe no one would claim her missing. Hang on a minute. I'll get sure I'm not saying nothing wrong because the detective actually texted.
Oh, okay.
He's listening in as well. I can't pull my text up without Roscoe. I won't say any more names if that's what it is. But anyway, the case. I was at the time working for Middle Tennessee State University with the teaching of infant death investigation, and I was working with a pathologist, the one I told you earlier. who had an article in a research magazine. I had a story about me in that research magazine. They had a story about him. His story was where he was getting human remains from Monterrey, Mexico, and identifying the remains and getting those soldiers back to their families in the United States. It's the first time that the U.S. had sent soldiers outside the country. And that was his story, and mine was about working in infant death investigations. But anyway, so I saw that, and I thought, well, wait a minute, Doc. Can you help me identify our girl if you're identifying all these soldiers? So I called him up, and we went up and met with him. And sure enough, there's another doctor that started working that discovered a way that they can actually tell what water that someone drank from as a child by a test from the bones. And they
Really?
were using that test to find out the actual area that they come from, and they would focus on that area and narrow it down to find out who the soldiers were. So that really interested me. So I went with Jerry, and I went up and we met with those, and we got to talking about, and this was back about when the Golden State Killer case was solved.
Yeah.
And they were telling us about ways that we can identify this girl. One was genetic genealogy, because of that Golden State Killer case was so widely known. And there was at the time another 4D reconstruction that they can do. We had a 3D. There's several different ways, but we were really getting close to where we could go into it. Well, about 6 or 8 months later, the detective Jerry that I was working with, he retired, and then I moved on actually to work in the state office about the time. So both of us actually left, and the case didn't go cold. They didn't let it go cold. They held on to it, and another detective, and I can't remember his name, picked it up. And a few months before our cold case team got started, the one that I'm on now, about 15 months ago, just a few months, they actually used some of those things like the genetic genealogy, and found out and got a match. They got a match. It was a sister out of Chicago. So they loaded up and they went to Chicago, and they met with the family, and they started giving them information that we all have gathered over the years. And it was her. They was telling the detectives things that they answered a lot of questions that they had for years. That said that she was there was a pimp that actually took her, and they were looking for him back then, and they said that they put it out there that she was missing, but they never got to where we were, or in Tennessee. So what they found out who she was, they identified her, they got her remains back to her. So to close the case out, finally after 40 years, we got a name for her and got her back to her family. So there's a lot of stuff in between it, but that's kind of the quick story.
Why was she not? Why was some Amanda's asking why she wasn't reported missing, but probably because a lot of these people, they're living in a transient lifestyle,
Right.
And these people aren't missed, and that's why serial killers in some of these circles are so successful and not getting really looked at, because there's not that connection, and nobody's really looking for these people, so therefore they're not reported missing, and they're put off in the woods and whatever else,
They think that they might come back. It's
Yeah.
like they report them, they're giving away the one hope that they have.
Yeah.
They'll show up. So
I mean, I think of the Green River Killer, that's Gary Ridgway from the Washington State area. And there's a lot of serial killers that are up in Washington State for some crazy reason. Actually, the West Coast in general, Washington State, California. But Gary Ridgway, he was picking. I think he may have the distinction from killing the most kills. Still, it's over 50. And basically, what led to his capture was they kept finding particles of paint on several of the victims. And what they did is they did microscopic testing on this paint. and I can't remember if it was Peterbilt. He worked in the paint room at Peterbilt or Kenworth, whatever the factory is up there in Washington State, and that's the only place that had that paint. Period. And
Wow.
they knew that's. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah. So that's how they ended up really kind of focusing in on there. Oh, 70. He claimed 70. It wouldn't surprise me because
What
there's probably more up there that they didn't find. Go ahead.
what serial killer? I was going to bring his name up last week. I got it in my text, and I never can remember his name, but you might know it. He was caught by a Texas Ranger, and he's in a Texas prison.
Yeah, Henry Lee Lucas.
He admitted to, if you say it, I'll know it automatically. But he admitted to 93 murders of women, and I think they tied him. I don't think they tied him to all 93, but that's what he admitted to. There's some documentaries on him on.
That sounds like that sounds like Henry Lee Lucas to me. And
No,
basically, one of the problems is that.
no, that's not him. It's
But it's not him. Huh? Was
No.
it Otis Toole? Might have been Otis Toole who was his running buddy. But
Cannot believe
wow,
think of it. But we had sent someone down to ask him about our girl because it matched his location of murders because he traveled the U.S. and he looked at it and he said, no, that I didn't kill her. Because he had this photographic memory of everybody that he killed. You would love to. I'll take when we get off.
Yeah,
there,
please do.
And the Texas Ranger interviewed him, and he said, "Can you tell me what so and so girl looked like?" He said, "Yeah." He gave him a piece of paper and a pencil. He left, and when he came back, he had, I think, 9 or 10 women that he literally drew like you took a picture of them, and had their facial reconstruction that he drew himself, and it was identical to all of them.
Amanda's saying, and so is Teresa. They're saying Sam Little. I don't know of him.
Sam Little, that's who it is.
I don't know about him. Is there a documentary on that? That's like
Samuel Little. You need to look him up and check out the story.
I will. I'll tell you another serial killer that's an interesting read. And I am not an avid reader. I'll tell you right now. I've got a stack of books, and I have managed to read through some of them. It's just reading is hard for me. I've just never really enjoyed it. Once I get into a book, then I'm all in, but it's just something but anyway, this book, it's called, I think it's called Final Truth, and it's Pee Wee Gaskins is his name. And he was a serial killer that ran around the Southeast United States. He's a serial killer that, he really gets in depth into his childhood. Is that Sam Little?
Yeah.
I don't know about that guy, so I'll have to look into him. But Pee Wee Gaskins is another guy that he basically writes a book about his life as a serial killer, and you can get it. I'm sure you can get it on Amazon. It's called Final Truth, if I'm not mistaken, by Pee Wee Gaskin. And there's actually somebody else that helped write it, and he gets in depth on murders that he's like, you can't publish this book until after I'm already executed. He'd actually executed, or he killed somebody on death row, as a matter of fact, when he wasn't on death row. He had actually was in prison for something else, but he's an interesting story as well. And Natalie Cash, she's like a big time DJ. Well, she's doing a podcast now. Thanks, Natalie, for reaching out. I appreciate you, my good friend. She's like, if you need me, let me know. So we're gonna have actually, you know what I need, Natalie, is I need you. Oh, actually, I don't know if she's listening currently, but I'm gonna need her. Yeah, that's Pee Wee right there, Pee Wee Gaskins. That is a book that I would highly recommend you read, but I will tell you, it's very disturbing. It's a disturbing read. And I'm already warped anyway. So, but literally, it's a disturbing read. And but it is a very interesting read, and it's an easy one. It's not a complicated book. So I don't know that Natalie Cash is actually listening to this right now, but she just saw my message only 3 weeks later. So but we're gonna have her on. I'll tell you somebody else we're gonna have on here, Danny. Cato Kalin. I communicated with Cato, and he's coming on. You know what I mean? And it's gonna be cool. I like Cato, so he's he's going to be a friend of mine, and I'm going to love talking to him. And he said that he would come on, so that's going to be down the line. His schedule is really busy, but he's going to do it. So, Cato Kalin from the O.J. Simpson case, yes way, it's going to happen. And he's now my friend, and I'm going to make sure it happens. So that's going to be fun, and that's going to be that's going to be cool.
I'm definitely going to watch that. I'll watch
As a matter of fact, I might even try to hook up with him when I go to LA and see if I can meet him in person, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like I said,
I'm okay though. I want to throw that out there, so I didn't give out too much information.
Well, actually, I didn't know that you gave out really anything.
Yeah, I tried because there's pieces at the very, very, very end that's not tied together yet. So, anyway, when did Roscoe on here? He does have some great stories too.
Hey, I'm interested. And Cato, the answer to that, yeah, he's going to come on and talk about the case. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that show he was on. That was basically he was living in the. I can't remember. Is it the Surreal Life? I think it might have been the Surreal Life. I can't remember, but he's a lot of fun. Actually, he's got a podcast too, and it's actually interesting. They talk a lot about the O.J. Simpson case. So, as a matter of fact, they have Tom Lang on there regularly, and I told Gil, because Gil knows Cato, and Gil knows Tom Lang, who is the lead detective in the O.J. case, as well as the Wonderland murders. Wow. I've told him, I'm like, listen, man, I want Tom Lang on here. I need Tom Lang because I want to talk to him. I think he's got some interesting stories. And I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to do something that's really interesting, okay, I'm going to give you a homework assignment. If you're not opposed to watching a crime scene video of 4 people dead in an apartment, okay, this crime scene video is on YouTube. You can go to it. And my buddy Scott Michaels, who was on here, who is a Manson murder connoisseur, this guy from Dearly Departed Tours, he was on one. He's actually on my most popular episode that I've ever had on here. So if you want to watch that one again, Cielo Drive is not his website. That's going to be, you're on the right path though, Amanda, because Cielo Drive is the guy. That's another website that I highly recommend checking out. And it's got a ton of photos that keep coming out. But Scott Michaels is my most popular episode. So go to my YouTube page and just hit most popular, and Scott Michaels' episode will come up. But Scott, he actually did something that's kind of interesting. If you go to search on YouTube and you search the Wonderland Murders crime scene video, actually, I think I might even have it on my playlist. If you go to my playlist on my YouTube page, I think you can go to the crime scene video. I think I've put it on there. If the person hasn't taken it from there, but it's probably on there, and check it out. And what's cool about it is that Scott Michaels actually he has a buddy of his that actually, his buddy was a realtor, and he had that apartment where those Wonderland murders happened back in the early 80s. And there was 4 people that were brutally beaten with a hammer. And do what?
I remember that episode you did.
Yeah, and there's actually a movie called The Wonderland Murders, or Wonderland, whatever. It's got Val Kilmer in it. But anyway, one of the killers in that, or one of the people that participated in it, was John Holmes, who was the famous porn star from the 70s.
What?
And yeah, so he had a bloody handprint on the headboard or the wall right behind one of the victims, and he ended up getting found not guilty. Wow. Which is insanity. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that there's a documentary on either Netflix or on Amazon, because I watched it, and it talks a lot about the Wonderland murder case. All right. So my point is, this is what I want you to do. If you're really a connoisseur of murder, okay, and but you can go on YouTube and you can literally watch the crime scene video. That, by the way, it might be the very first crime scene video ever. And if you listen really closely, you'll notice that it's Tom Lang's voice. And so he's like, all right, you see the feet, they're faced to the east, and this stuff. And it's interesting. So you should check it out. It's real grainy, but it's kind of cool to watch the video because Scott Michaels goes to that apartment. His buddy goes, hey man, if you want to go into that apartment, come on over here. And so Scott goes over there, and the guy that did the 6 Degrees of Helter Skelter with him, he called him up, and he came over, and he filmed Scott talking about it. And the inside of that apartment, that many years later, like the tile was the same, The
Really?
cabinets were the same. Yeah, it's kind of spooky. And actually, Scott says, I'd asked him this. He says, man, that's one of the most evil places I've ever been in. I mean, you could literally just feel the evil and the ghost. I mean, you could literally feel that this place was not right. And so, when I'm in LA, I'm actually going to be staying in Laurel Canyon, and Laurel Canyon is where that I'm going to drive by it, of course. You know what I mean? If if somebody came out of that apartment, I don't know that I'd be opposed to going, hey, do you mind if I take a look? But I don't know.
That would be cool, man. I would love to do that.
I'm telling you, I've already told my wife. I said we might even drive by Spawn Ranch. I just want to check it out. We're going to be not far from there either, and I just kind of want to check it out. I just kind of want to see it. I have never seen that. And as a matter of fact, I might even have dinner with Scott Michaels in Palm Springs when I get there. So we'll see. I'd like to pick his brain a little bit more. He's a fascinating individual. If you haven't checked out his podcast, and I think it's the Dearly Departed podcast, he's got a viewership that's just insane compared to mine. I'm just child's play, and I'm still growing at a pace, small pace, but I'm getting there. But Scott is something special. He really is. He's an interesting guy. I could listen to him forever.
Oh.
And anyway, so yeah, I'm trying to do something else too. I actually sent a letter to the people that own the Brady house. Where the Brady Bunch. It wasn't filmed in that house, but what they did on HGTV is they actually built the whole house to look exactly like the set from the Brady Bunch. And it's the front of the house is the same, but the whole inside of that house has been transformed into the Brady Bunch house. And so I wrote him and I said, hey, I don't want the sweepstakes, all that jazz. I just want to go in it. So I don't need to meet a Brady. I just want to, although I wouldn't be opposed to it, if Bobby Brady or Greg Brady or whoever, I don't care. I'd love to meet him, but I just want to go inside of the house just to check it out. I think that'd be cool. And so Tina was like, quit doing that. Quit making arrangements and quit messaging people, because you're not gonna. I want to go to Disneyland and I want to do. Personally, I'd rather go hang out with George Christie from the Hells Angels. Honestly,
Exactly. I would go by the fire department in LA where they filmed Emergency. I know you watched that show growing up.
I did. You mean that place really exists? There's actually a firehouse that's still from that.
We actually have employees that work for us that worked out there.
Okay.
They come from LA, and they talk about it still there. Yeah, that for me that would be like cool. I don't know if the same exact building. I'm sure they remodeled it or whatever, but the location is there. That got a lot of people.
Well,
emergency services.
I told Gil Carrillo when I saw him in San Antonio, I was like, dude, I'm going to be coming out there, and we're going to have to if I'm ever out in LA, we're going to have to get a drink. And he's like, you don't have to twist his arm on that. He's all in. So I was like, hey, Gil, we need to get Frank Salerno to show up. And Frank Salerno is the lead detective on the Hillside Stranglers. And remember, these are the OGs, man, in this business that are legendary names. And for me being the baby homicide detective that I am, I've only been doing this for 16 years. These guys are the names that are the names that to be able to meet them would be just priceless. And they're older people. I want to meet him before it's too late. You know what I mean? I want to, can you imagine going to a bar and hanging out with these guys and just swapping stories? I mean, I can't even imagine. So
incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. And I'll tell you, George Christie, who was, he's written 4 books. He's all over the History Channel about the Hells Angels, etc. And George is like, yeah, man, you want to come out here? We'll get a drink together. And I think I might just have to do that. So, but anyway, he's in, and believe me, for those that are listening from my department that are monitoring to check and see if I do something wrong, he's not with the Hells Angels anymore. He left them, so it's not like I'm hanging out with motorcycle gangsters. He doesn't do that anymore. But he is an authority. And he's an exceptional speaker. He speaks all over the place. So he'd be a fascinating guy to hang out with just for a minute, But
like Billy's story, was it Billy? Bill, undercover motorcycle.
Billy. Yeah, Billy that came on here. He's awesome. And so who infiltrated the Outlaws?
Yeah, he's got a really cool story.
Matter of fact, matter of fact, yeah, you're talking about Billy Queen. So Billy Queen, I should have known that. The problem is you can ask me about a murder from 15 years ago, and I can tell you all the ins and outs of it and probably the DNA strand. But you asked me about something from 5 minutes ago, I can't remember. But Billy Queen's actually running for sheriff out in his town, out in the East Coast. So if you're out in that area, give him some support, give him some love. Matter of fact, you can follow him on his Facebook page. He's Billy Queen running for sheriff or something like that. I'm following him, so you can find his page on mine. Yeah, I would like to have a beer or more with Billy. I've had plenty of beers with him, believe me. So, but anyway, yeah, I'll tell you what, man, I'm having a good time, and that's what's fun about this podcast, Danny.
Well, you know people all over the world, Jason. You can get anybody you want to, man.
No, well, you can always ask. You can always ask. I've asked several, and surprisingly, I get a response back from some of them, but some of them I don't get any response, and that's okay. Because a lot of them,
Clint Eastwood's coming on. I know he is. You're going to get him on here.
You know, I tell you what, I would love to have him on here. I really would. But I just don't know if Clint Eastwood's ever even done a podcast. But like I said, I do know two people that know him. And one of them, you know, he was like an uncle to her. And I don't know, man. I would love it. I really would. I grew up watching Dirty Harry movies. You know.
Me too, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I even know that his badge number is 2111. So I mean, that gives you an idea as to how much I know about that guy. So
well, connections with the Tulsa King. You know,
well, yeah, that would be me, the real Tulsa King, right? So
the other Tulsa King.
Well, I wouldn't mind talking to him either. You know, I wouldn't mind talking to Sylvester Stallone, but you know, there were some people that put some stuff out there. They put some names of people that they thought would be good guests, and I'm certainly, you know, one of them is Stephanie. Tell me who's the announcer for the First 48 again. I should know it. Between him and Stephanie would know if she's still in here. But I think it's something Graham, and I'm sure. I mean, golly, I would think that I'd be able to get him. My gosh, I've been on that show for 11 years, and I know the execs from. I just never ever tried, so maybe I'll ask. I'll ask about him. But somebody else had mentioned somebody about the guy that basically put together The Wire, and I thought that was fascinating. And there's somebody else that I'd like to get on here, and it's the guy that played Bosch. And he's a serious supporter of law enforcement. What's his name? Do you remember?
I don't.
Golly, he played Bosch. I just can't remember his name off the top of my head. And oh, Dion Graham is his name. That's who it is. Dion Graham. We might be able to get him on here. I don't know, but he was on The Wire too, and I think he'd be fascinating to have on here because, I mean, he said my name probably 200 times at least. It would be kind of cool to meet the guy. And then, but the guy that did The Wire, I think would be fascinating. But like I said, it's, I can't remember his name. He's on, he played Bosch. And I think that would be, matter of fact, I'd look to see what that house would cost to rent it. I wanted to rent that house from Bosch, but that is way out of my price range, ladies and gentlemen. But it would be cool. I could just sit there and look at that skyline of LA nonstop. I would love. Oh, okay. Kelly Sigler. Okay. Well, I'm glad you asked that. I asked, hey, I know somebody that knows her, and it's Paul Keith. Paul Keith is my buddy, and we're both on the committee for the Homicide Investigators of Texas. And by the way, Amanda, throw that up there right quick. I want to at least make sure that we mention this. If you're a homicide detective or you're a detective, and of course they threw that up there on my website. It's hitx.org, if I'm not mistaken, is their website. There you go. If you go to that, and you're a homicide, you got to be a cop to go to this thing. You don't even have to be homicide, but if you're a police officer and you're an investigator, and maybe you're not necessarily a designated homicide guy, do what?
What about a cold case investigator?
You can go to this. Yeah,
I'll go with Roscoe.
You should. Yeah, sign up for it. No, really, sign up for it. And we would welcome you with open arms. And it's at the Drury Suites right there and when I say the Drury Suites, it's not like your typical Drury. This thing is a skyscraper and it's epic. And it used to be a bank back in probably the 20s or the 30s, but it's a really cool venue. And it's right on the Riverwalk. And it's March 23rd through the 26th. And if you're, I could possibly ask Joe Kenda, you know, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind talking to him and having him on here. Kelly Sigler. So let's get back to here real quick. So he's messaging her, and I told him, I said, "Hey, tell Kelly I want her on the show." And she's like, she didn't call me. Let's put it that way. But she's got my phone number. But I really would like to talk to her now. Steve Spagnola. I've talked to Steve. Steve Spagnola, just for the people that are sitting here and tuning in, he's one of the lead detectives on the Jeffrey Dahmer case. And Steve said he would do it. So I just need to really corner him. I need to get him on a date. He said he would do it. I will tell you that August the, I can't remember the date, but it's August the 18th ish or somewhere in there. I can't remember. Maybe it's the 25th, 22nd, somewhere in the August, late August. The most one. It's not. He's one of the 5 most recognizable sheriffs in the country, and I don't want to say he's the number one. He could be. He's in the top 5. I can promise you, and you will know him when you see him. And he's coming on. I just don't want to throw the name out. I'll have a little bit of suspense. Steve would be great. Steve's a lot of fun. He's a lot of he when I saw Steve, he handed me a handful of pins that say Cold Justice on it, and he handed me a bunch of cards. But unfortunately, Cold Justice is no longer. And I'm really devastated. I'm really sad by that because I loved that show. And I think Kelly's doing something a little bit different right now. And I don't know what channel she's doing it on, but she's doing something, a new project. But I would love to have her on for sure. Definitely. I don't know. We're trying. There's going to be a couple of other people. I mean, there's I'm going to mix it up occasionally. I just don't want to just do totally true crime. If I can get somebody that's interesting, just like Doug Satchery next week, we can. If you don't have this in your cabinet, you need to get it. It's great. It's the it's Cajun spice, and it's perfect. And we're gonna have Doug Satchery with that company. He's coming on tomorrow. Not tomorrow. He's coming on next week, and he's great, and he's a good people, and he's going to be a lot of fun. And let's see who else. And then I've got a couple of rock singers and stuff that I could have on here. They're just waiting in the wings. They've already said they'd do it. I would like to get Ace Frehley from Kiss. So if you know him, I know somebody that knows him, and I've sent Ace. I follow him on Facebook, and I've sent him probably. Oh, I've sent him 3 or 4 messages, and I can tell that somebody in his crew has read them, but that he hasn't sent me a message back. But Ace is cool. He's my favorite out of Kiss. So he's super cool. I'd love to get him on here too.
That would be cool.
And actually, I sent Ozzy a message too. And one of the people before he died, I'd sent him a message, but you couldn't send Ozzy any messages. They didn't take him. But I do know Ozzy's bassist, and that's Rudy Sarzo, and he's going to come on. He said he would do it, so I just have to schedule it when it fits his schedule. He'll come on. He was the bassist for Quiet Riot when they were huge, and then Ozzy, then Dio, and Whitesnake. So he's been everywhere. He's cool. He's on that. If you want to watch him on, he's on Hired Guns, I think is the show on Amazon Prime, and he's one of the best bassists out there. He's awesome. Oh, Prosecuting Evil with Kelly Sigler. Cool. Yeah. That's I'll have to look that up because I'm a fan of hers. As a matter of fact, I've already told. I mean, I've told her through people that she'd need a protective order from me probably if I hung out with her. And I think I'm gonna actually, to tell you the truth, Danny, she might be coming to that conference this next March.
Really?
That's what I've been told. Yeah. So we might get her to try to speak or something like that. We're working on it. I don't know. I'm running out of things to. If you've got any last final questions from everybody, go ahead.
I don't. I'm just glad to be on here. I appreciate.
Man, I'm glad to have you on. David Simon. David Simon's the name of the guy that basically did The Wire. I remember that now. So thank you, Amanda, for researching that. Well done. And I'll tell you, before we got on here, Amanda told me, she goes, just relax. And I wasn't even, I have nerves of steel. I wasn't even worrying about it because, quite frankly, I'm so used to StreamYard screwing up. I figured, all right, well, here we go again. But no, she does do cold cases. I think she's epic. I think she's awesome. They had another show that was about cold case sex crimes that was kind of a spinoff of Cold Justice. And I don't remember the name of it, but it still might have episodes on Netflix. And if it's there, I recommend watching that too. Yeah. The only problem with that show that I thought was a little bit weird is that, and part of Cold Justice kind of got me thinking about that too, is they're mentioning a lot of people's names and stuff that that might have been suspects back in the day. And I'm sure they just didn't sign a waiver to go, yeah, hey, man, blast me up there and blast me on the show about how evil I was. And even though I'm not even involved in the crime. So I'm sure that, but that show was massively successful and they really did a lot of good. So I thought that was great. And nobody is shouting at me, and I've still got the same number of people that are hanging in the room, so I do appreciate it. I have to remind people too, please go to my YouTube page too, because I like getting the views too, and the views for me are great. And I want you to like and subscribe. Those of you that have not done this yet, that are following me on, I've got almost 13,000 followers on Twitter, and I know I put it out there every now and then. Hey, if you follow my when I'm not getting blasted for something on there, sometimes I've had I'm good. I still, wait till, hey, Danny, wait till I retire and look out, buddy. Cause, I am a very vocal person, and unfortunately I have to keep a lot of that private right now, but one day I've told people at work, I said, one day I'm going to write a tell-all. I'm going to do a tell-all book. So
it's a wonder you haven't written a book already.
Well, I need to, but I would like to do one that's a tell-all. And so those of you that are in my life, you know who you are, that have done me wrong at any point. Believe me, we might change your name, but it's going to be really close. And I don't think that they'll have a hard time finding out who you are.
They'll know.
I'm just playing. I get along with everybody. Let's see. No, but I'm going to probably write one at some point as I get a chance. I want to remind everybody too, just real quick before we get off of here, I want to remind you of another thing. November the 21st, I'll be speaking in California. I don't know if it's a crime prevention conference. If you live in California, Southern California, Palm Springs, I don't know that it's open to the public or not. I mean, I guess if you pay the money, but it might be law enforcement sensitive. I don't know. But I will tell you that in Arkansas, Fort Smith, Arkansas, I'm doing an encore performance at the U.S. Marshal Museum. And it's not going to be the same either. So if you went to the last one, I'm going to change it up. It's going to be different stuff that I'm going to speak on. Some of it might be similar, but there's going to be some other stuff that I will visit with, or at least talk about. And that's November the 21st at the U.S. Marshal Museum. And I don't think tickets are quite on sale yet, but if you want to look for that, and it goes to a good cause, it goes to the museum. Okay. It goes to the museum. That U.S. Marshal Museum is an awesome place. We had Lenny DePaul that was on here from the most recognizable U.S. Marshal aside from Wyatt Earp. He was on here a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
And Lenny's on their board. So, and I didn't know Lenny before that. I knew people that knew him, but Lenny's on the board, and so it does go to a good cause. It goes to the museum and running operations and stuff like that. And it's a cool museum. I mean, they've got all kinds. They got some John Wayne stuff in there, and they got some cool stuff in there. It's neat. A lot of guns and things like that. Guns that were used in shootings, and it's pretty neat. I don't know. I think we're probably gonna. Yeah, I know, Phyllis. I know you're watching me on that YouTube page, but I want you to also watching me on my YouTube page. I don't get their follows. I get mine. And so check mine out too. If you ever go back, if you're looking for an old episode, you can certainly find them on KGRA, but go over and watch them on mine if you don't mind. It's Detective Jason White on YouTube. And Phyllis, I hope you're doing well. You're certainly in my thoughts and prayers still. And I'm glad to see you here. Hopefully we've brightened your day just a little bit. So I appreciate that. I don't know who Sunlover is. You'll have to leave your real name. I'm curious. I appreciate you're a name that I don't remember seeing on here in the past, but actually I've messaged you. You've commented very nice things about my YouTube page, and I appreciate that. So thank you, Sunlover 5000, because I've definitely seen some cool things that you've written. And it's another thing I want to mention. Those of you, I appreciate all of the kind messages that you've put on my Facebook page, my YouTube page. I've got a special, my Facebook page that was strictly Detective Jason White that got hacked, or they suspended it for stupid, who knows why. I don't know. I only talk about positive, fun stuff, but it's back. It's not that one. So I'm having to rebuild my people. but it's really cool, and you should check it out. If you haven't joined the First 48 fan page, Steph is putting out something about if you haven't joined it, there's 68,000 people on that fan page, and it's growing. And they talk about all things positive, First 48. So they like to talk about things. You can't be negative. You can't go dissing on the detectives, or they'll boot you like a bad habit. But if it's positive, they love you, and that's cool. And I'm glad you're a huge fan, Son Lover, because I appreciate that. It means the world. Let's see. I want everybody to have a great weekend. Thank you, Carrie. That's great. I do. She wants you to have a good one. So do I. I think we've pretty much hit the wall. I don't know what else we can talk about. Please, the reason why I want you to follow the YouTube page, and I want you to follow my Facebook page, is because I don't make any money doing any of this. I'm not opposed to it. Maybe one day I'll make a few cents, but the reason why is because it helps with, they tell me it helps with the algorithm, and that's what it's about. And I want that to happen. And plus, some of these guests, and George Christie was one of them. George Christie, one of the questions that he asked me is, he goes, "How many followers do you have?" And I said, "George, nothing like you," because George has got like 350,000 followers on Instagram. And I was like, "Not even close, buddy." And he goes, "Well, I don't really care. I'll do whatever I want to do, but my publisher is going to ask that." So sometimes that makes a difference for some of these guests, and they want to go on shows that actually they think they're going to be viewed a bunch. So that's the reason why. And plus, I mean, I want to know that it's a successful venture. And so that helps me know that. My daughter, by the way, my daughter's got like 13. She's got 11,400 followers on her YouTube page. And I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" And her highest video is 350,000 views.
Oh my God.
And that's my 20-year-old daughter for you.
Wow.
And yeah, it's pretty cool. So anyway, stay safe, everybody. Thank you, Teresa. I couldn't have said it better. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Danny. It is great seeing Danny. Way to step in like a freaking all-star. I love it. And I know, and the more, I mean, we're going to have you on several more times. I have this feeling, and man, I appreciate everybody for being here. I really do. It means the world. Thank you, Amanda, for trying to help Rick Duggan out. And we're going to have Rick back. We're going to have him here. And I know that Rick felt really bad about it. And so we will have him on here. We're going to have Scott Sayers on here. We're going to have Doug Satchery next week. We're going to have one of the most famous sheriffs in this country that was also on a television show as well. And we'll leave that for later. And if you have anybody that you know that, I want to mention this too. I don't want to forget this. Jason Pearden from East Palo Alto, California. He was one of our earlier shows back in the day. I mean, it was him and one of his colleagues that were talking about the homicide rate in East Palo Alto. Jason just reached out to me, and they had a cold case that was a no-body cold case to boot, which are the most complicated cold cases that you're going to have as a homicide detective. And they just got a conviction on it. He actually kind of was telling me the jury's out. They just went out, and he kept me posted and let me know, and they actually got a conviction on that no-body case. And that's in the San Francisco area. And I think really just the jury pool that they're probably choosing from in that area, that's a huge success. So good for them. I'm really, really proud of him for that. And he is going to come on. He told me that he would come on once the dust settles on that to talk more clearly talk about the case, to share it with everybody. Danny, if your wife's there, tell her I said hello. And
I sure will. She's in bed. She's not feeling real good.
All right. Well, keep me posted on things in your world, and like I said, I'm going to be in East Tennessee, so we're going to get together in November.
Yeah,
okay.
We will. Hey, thelocator911.com.
Throw that up there, Amanda, right quick. One more time.
Thelocator911.com.
Okay. The locator 911. Yeah, in his part of the country, he calls it but it's the locator 911 light bulb, right?
Yeah.
.com. If you're looking for a gift for your elderly relative, then give that a look. I mean, is that going good?
Yeah, it's going. We're going on TV next Wednesday. 9 stations in 11 states. We've got a special going. We'll be under Prime Media. And right now we've got them, probably the price is as low as they've ever been. We've got a good special going. Just check it out on the website.
What's
And
the price? If you know,
it's
if you feel comfortable saying.
35. You buy two, you get the third one for half price.
What was it again? I cut you out. What was it?
$39.95. You buy
All right.
two, get the third one at half price.
All right.
And
Life
that's
saving.
any bulbs we have.
If you live in the rural area, that's any of them. So you've got bulbs for RVs, you've got bulbs for boats, right?
Yeah.
Backpacks. You have those out yet?
We're working on it. We've still got the prototype of one of our bulbs called the Freedom bulb. It can do the same thing.
All right, cool. So good. Yeah, there's the thing for it. Way to go, Danny. And I'm glad you got that plug-in because you deserve it. And maybe we can get some of those. So if you're looking for a really good gift for an elderly member of your family that might need that lives, especially if they live out in the rural area, my gosh, what a lifesaver that is. And that's that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll get off here. I'll quit babbling. But listen, I really do appreciate everybody here. And it means something to me each and every week. I look forward to seeing the regulars and just seeing a new name with Sun Lover coming on here and others. I didn't see my cousin on here tonight. I don't know what's happening with him. I'll have to check on him. And but I can't thank you enough. Thank you, Dan. Go to my YouTube page. If you haven't followed it on YouTube or my Facebook, Detective Jason White, on both of those. And see you all later.